Thank you for picking up WP Quick Launch. I want to teach you guys how to utilize this plugin along with my Amazon training so you can get the most use out of this. Now, there are obviously a lot of different ways that you could go about using this thing. I want to teach you not just one specific way to do things, but a couple of different possibilities. That way, depending on how you are putting together your Amazon sites, this training should be able to adapt for you. Now, to start out with, once you have set up a new WordPress website, what you want to do is go into the plugins and add in WP Quick Launch. Get this plugin activated and installed on this site. Then you're going to get the little sidebar link for WP Quick Launch over here. Once you get into this page that you see on my screen, you then have access to all the different settings. Now this is very important. Note this at the top of the site. If you're using this plugin on an existing website, it will clear out your current settings and content. What that means is when you click on this blue process button down at the bottom, it's going to process everything that is on this page. And so if you already have existing posts or pages on a site, you do not want to be using this because it will wipe those out. The only thing that you're going to be left with as far as content is going to be these pages here that it will create, and then anything that you set up down below. So with that said, this is only for new websites that you are creating. The only reason you would maybe want to use it on an existing site is if you were starting over from scratch and you just wanted to wipe out everything that was there. That could also be a possibility. But for most people, you're just going to be using this for brand new websites. Now to begin with, up at the very top here, we have these two options. One of them is going to be messing with default WordPress settings. Under settings and permalinks, you would typically go there to modify your permalinks so it shows up with a slug that is based on the title of the page. So that's going to make the URL of your pages based on keywords and not information that's going to be unuseful to a search engine. The next setting here, deleting demo post pages and comments, should be pretty straightforward. When you first set up WordPress, there's a Hello World post and a sample page. There's also a comment that goes along with that Hello World post. This will wipe out all of that initial stuff and allow you to start from scratch. Now these are the essentials, what pretty much everybody would be doing on any site, no matter what kind of a site they're going to create. With that said though, there likely will be other settings that you may need to mess with after you utilize this plugin. But again, any other changes or modifications that you want to make to this website, make sure you're doing all this stuff after you use WP Quick Launch. So you're using this plugin, you're setting everything up, you're processing it, and then you would go on and start modifying other sections and settings and so on for your website. Now, out of the settings that you would want to be addressing for most of the Amazon affiliate sites would be things like on the general page, just setting up the title and the description for your blog. Other things like rating would allow you to set a home page for your website if you didn't want to use the standard blog type of view, which is just going to list all the different posts that are on your site. And then other things like discussion. If you didn't want to allow comments on your website, you might want to go in there and disable them. But again, these are not really things that could be automated for every single website out there. So that's really why you're not seeing these things taken care of by the plugin itself. Now next up, we have the pages to add. These pages are default pages. This is actually talking about a WordPress page here that the plugin can create for you. Now, overall, these are fairly generic pages, and there's nothing crazy fancy about them. The most useful one that I find is the privacy policy page. That can be helpful for people to automatically generate because you may not need to be doing anything special with a privacy policy for an Amazon site, but it can still be good to have something like that in there. Other pages like the About page, you could utilize this and go back in and modify it with your About page content that I teach in pretty much all of my Amazon training classes. I teach creating an About page or an About Us page. You could go back into this page after it's created and just modify the content with whatever you want to be writing there, putting in your Amazon affiliate agreement statement, things of that nature. The contact page here is probably the one page that I may recommend to leave out. It's pretty basic. It's really just a single sentence telling people the email address to contact for your website. So if you did want to give them a place to contact you, you could still include that and go back in and edit it. They have Contact Form 7 as a plugin option that you can install. So you could go back into this contact page and just add in a contact form if you wanted people to be able to contact your website that way. Other people may not actually be monitoring mail for every single Amazon site that they run, so they may just leave out that type of information. The next thing I want to talk to you about are the plugins that are going to be installed. These plugins here, the 6 that are listed, are some of the essential plugins that a large number of people end up using on different types of WordPress sites that they create. This list may or may not include the exact plugins that you want to be using on any given site that you want to be creating. However, you simply use this list to find the ones that you do want to use. For example, in a lot of my training courses, I might teach to use Google XML Sitemap, WP Supercache, and possibly Google AuthorLink. While I recommend a different SEO plugin, you could certainly utilize Yoast SEO instead. I know I've mentioned Yoast SEO in at least one of my Amazon training plugins as at least a possible alternative to the ones that I recommend, Ultimate SEO, for most of my training classes. This also is something I believe is integrated or has some kind of integration with the Weaver theme that I recommend to use. So it could be worth giving it a shot. It has some interesting SEO score options that it can give you for your page where it automatically calculates how you're doing, how readable your content is, things of that nature. So those things can be pretty useful. So for example, I might have, say, these 3 or these 4 selected. These 2 do have a minor conflict with each other, and so they're not really that great to use together. So for this example, I would maybe just use these 3 plugins. Now, once you are done using WP Quick Launch, you can then go back in to the plugin system and search and install other plugins that you might want to use on this site. You may also have some commercial plugins that you've purchased that you would want to install on the site. For example, it might be one of my Amazon plugins that you're using to go along with one of my training classes. So then you could go back in and add in whatever additional software you needed on the website. The same thing also goes for the theme. If you notice from this default website that I set up, it's using the default WordPress theme. You don't have to stick with using this. You can switch this over to Weaver. Again, this is something you would preferably want to do after setting up WP Quick Launch and processing this. Go back in, add in your theme, then you can customize the look of your website once you have all these pages and this content built in already. Now this brings us to the actual content additions for this site. The basic idea here is to add in a new line for each page of content that you want to have published on your website. You have 3 boxes that are available for you. The first one, it is utilized as a keyword phrase if you decide to include relevant YouTube videos. However, this also ends up being the actual title and is used as the basis for the URL for that page as well. So I recommend writing out a full page title here and not just putting in some kind of basic keyword phrase. Next up, we have a file upload. This is where you will upload a text file. So you could just take basic Notepad text files and write out your articles for your websites. If you're outsourcing the articles, you would then simply have these articles delivered, 1 article per text file, and just have them labeled so you can easily tell them apart. And then you just simply find those text files in here. As you can see here, I have this text file here matching up with what I have specified for the title. So I find it easier to just go through and upload my text files first, and then I can put in the title and the featured image to match along with it. The featured image here, it is optional. You don't have to use this. In fact, if you decide to publish these as a page and not as a post, most WordPress themes are not going to be utilizing a featured image on pages. So it might not even end up showing those if you're using the page setting down here. So again, this is optional, but if you would like to show a featured image to go along with it, you can see what this ends up looking like on the default theme. It just shows it up above the post title. This is also something that if you're creating, say, a category page and there's a listing of all the different posts that are available within that category, it might be utilizing this featured image. This is something that I teach in, for example, the Azon 30-day challenge. Beyond setting up the text files and the featured images and the titles, though, for all of your content, the other main thing that is really important about this whole system is the fact that it's only going to create either a post or a page for you based on anything you're providing up above. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to run this through a second time because remember the note up here, it's going to clear out your existing settings and content if you run it again. So with that said, you have to decide whether to use this system to publish posts or pages for you. Now, depending on what type of training of mine you are going through, basically what series of mine you might be working on, I might be teaching you to use WordPress pages or WordPress posts, or possibly a combination of both of them. For example, in the Azon Home study course, also called Azon Masterclass or Azon Masterclass 1, I teach to create the entire website out of pages. So you could select page here and then provide all of the different pages that you want to create on the site. So every single thing that you're going to create on that website could be entered in as a title and a text file and an image on this screen. For a course like the Azon 30-Day Challenge, I teach to use a combination of pages and posts. So with that series, you would actually have to choose one or the other to be publishing using this system. With the Azon 30-Day Challenge, though, a large portion of the content that you end up publishing on your website will end up being a post. So what I would recommend doing is using this system to create all of the informational articles that you are going to be publishing, and also to create your product review pages, because these are also going to be posts that are published in the system. This really only leaves your homepage and your main category pages, where we have customized our category page that is then going to list all of the posts in that particular category. We just have those initial pages that we have to set up beyond what is in this system. So I would have all my informational articles, kind of like these: best solid state drive for the money, hybrid solid state drives, defragging solid state drives, so on and so forth. And then I would also add in some posts here for my different products or brands that I'm going to be promoting. So I might have one on Samsung solid state drives, and I would put in my text file and my featured image for it. Whether or not you want to put in a relevant YouTube video or not is really up to you. And it may also depend on your niche. I would actually recommend, though, to go ahead and leave this setting turned on. Let it add in these relevant YouTube videos. And if you don't like them, or if it's not pulling something useful for your website, you can always go into each of these posts that it's creating and simply delete them yourself. It's really just one small line of code down at the bottom of each of these posts that it's creating. So once you have gone through and used WP Quick Launch to set up your settings and your initial pages and plugins and all of your content posts, the question is, what do you do next? Where do you then pick up my training and continue on with building this website? What is actually left for you to be doing at this point? One of the things that you'll find when you're publishing everything as a post, for example, if I go into the posts of this website where I've already published everything that I was just showing you on the previous page, you can see that everything is sorted into the uncategorized category, because that is actually all that is available on this website. So if I had a section for informational articles, I might even have a couple of different sections of informational articles. And then maybe I have a section for the products or the brands that I'm going to be promoting. This is how I teach setting up the website in the Azon 30-day challenge, for example. I could then come back to this category page, create my categories just like I would as normal. So I would create an informational category, a brand category, perhaps whatever I would need to be utilizing on that site. Then I simply return to my listing of the different posts, and I can click on Quick Edit right here, and it lists out all the different categories that are available. So I can just unclick on Uncategorized and click on whichever other category I actually want to be sorting this into. And then I just click on the Update button, and I can continue on through this entire list and knock all of these out, sorting them in a really short amount of time. This is going to help with the organization and the structuring of the website. So you do still need to be taking care of that type of stuff. You also have interlinking of pages to think about. This is something that really comes more towards the end of the site building process in the Azon Home Study course and the Azon 30-day challenge, where I teach people to go back to their informational pages and to provide text links that direct people along to their money pages or their product review pages, where you actually need people to end up at to click on those Amazon ads. You still would need to go back into your informational articles and add in those types of links. You would also need to set up your menu under Appearance and Menus. So you would have your menu bar at the top of the website. This is where you might be linking up to the different main category pages. That also brings me to my next point, which is content. I briefly mentioned this previously. Depending on how you use this system and the exact pages that you are using it to create for you, and also what training you might be following to build your Amazon site, there may be other content pages that are still left to be created. If you are using the Azon Home Study course and you just publish everything as a page, you probably already have everything published here. So you would really just need to go back in to the content for your home page in the main category pages and add in the menus for those different pages to where it's going to connect up the rest of the content that is published on this website. For something like the Azon 30-day challenge, though, you would have all of your informational and product posts being published this way. But then you would want to go back into your pages and create a home page. You could then set it under Settings and Reading, so it actually shows up as the home page. You would also then have your main category pages. For example, a brand category. While you create your category under Posts and Categories for that brand category, in the Azon 30-day challenge, I teach you how to create your own page for that category and then to have it override that initial one using a plugin, a redirect plugin, 301 Redirects. You would still need to go through that process of setting up those different main category pages along with your home page and also doing everything needed so those main category pages are going to list out all of these different posts that are automatically created. Doing all of this would essentially put your website in a nearly completed state. The only other things that would really be left to do is to finalize software. You might have other plugins that you need to install. If you need to install a plugin to do your Amazon advertising, for example, you might also want to be customizing the look of your website. So this would involve installing, for example, the Weaver theme and going through the steps that I teach to customize the look of your site. Beyond that, though, the only thing that's really left is to create your actual Amazon ads. Putting in everything this way, you're really just adding in the content. You may want to go back into some of these pages and spice them up a little bit. For example, if you had other images besides just the featured image that you wanted to show on that site, you may want to go back in and edit them and add in that additional content if you have it. If not, though, for example, you might just use my plugin product style to go into the product review posts that were created and just add in your Amazon ad for whatever product you're promoting. Other options, such as using an automated software that's going to generate your store pages, you might just be coming in here and creating your informational content using this system. And then you would maybe use something like Associate Goliath to create all of your product review posts for you, and then go back in and edit those product review posts. So no matter how you are wanting to proceed with creating your Amazon sites, this plugin can adapt to your needs. You just have to think about what exactly you want to be punching in here, and then what changes still need to be made to the website afterwards. Now, I did mention briefly about the YouTube videos that are automatically included. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the content for one of the posts or pages that's created by this plugin and has the YouTube video added to it, you can see this little iframe code. All you would have to do if you didn't want to use that video anymore, if you wanted to remove it from that page, maybe it wasn't a good fit for your site based on it searching for the title, you could just simply select this entire line of code here and delete it. And then the video would be gone after you update that page. Now, let's say you still wanted to include a video on the site, but maybe you didn't like the one that automatically selected. And so you go to YouTube and you hunt down a video that you actually do like. So let's say we go here and we decide that we want to use this video instead. All you have to do is select the very end portion of the URL. Make sure you're not getting the little v is equal to part though. You just want this little letter and number tag that's on the end, and then simply copy that, go back into your post, and you can see the same kind of a number and letter tag after embed, and make sure you're also not messing with this /. Usually if you just click on it right here, it will typically select the entire thing. And then I can just paste in the new code, and that would be replacing it with a different YouTube video if I didn't like the initial one that was selected. So as you can see, there's really not a whole lot else that you have to do using this plugin. It really eliminates a large portion of the busy work that I find myself doing with all the different Amazon sites that I create. And honestly, you could even use WP Quick Launch for any other kind of WordPress site that you wanted to be building.